Thank you so much for joining us on our news desk on QTV. In our headlines, government has distanced itself from the book circulating on social media on comprehensive sexuality education. Green Economy and Environment Minister Collins Nzovu has declared government's readiness for the cyclone Freddy, which is expected to bring about increased rainfall over Zambia, resulting in floods. And now the news in detail. Government says the books circulating on social media on comprehensive sexuality education have not been developed by the Ministry of Education. Minister of Education Douglas Siyakalima has told Parliament that the ministry undertook a survey of bookshops and checked through the titles of the books circulating on social media, and the findings have revealed that the books are not developed by the Ministry of Education. Mr. Siyakalima, while the cover is correct, the page circulating is not from any of the Zambian books. He says the page is photoshopped, adding that even the pagination is different. Mr. Siyakalima states that the ministry remains open to any further submissions and welcomes any opportunity to further raise awareness on CSE with stakeholders in Zambia, including parents, traditional leaders, and religious bodies. He, however, states that the ministry is deeply concerned about misleading any alarmist information on the content that is a clear misrepresentation of what is contained in the Zambian CSE's curriculum framework. The minister notes that the recent posts on social media are meant to tarnish government and the great strides that the Ministry of Education and other partners have attained in combating teenage pregnancies and STI infections. Green Economy and Environment Minister Collins Nzovu has declared government's readiness for Cyclone Freddy, which is expected to affect the country with increased rainfall leading to floods. Cyclone Freddy has already hit Madagascar and is likely to hit Mozambique on Friday, and is expected to affect 5 other countries, namely Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Eswatini, and South Africa. Mr. Nzovu has told Parliament in response to questions during the session for matters of urgent public importance that episodes of light to moderate rainfall are expected to affect parts of North, Western, Eastern, Central, Copperbelt, Lusaka, Southern, Muchinga, Northern and Luapula provinces, leading to waterlogging and localized flooding due to saturated soil moisture during the period 22nd to 28 February 2023. He says the heavy rainfall experienced in the last 7 days has been due to a low pressure system over Botswana and Zimbabwe. Mr. Nzovu states that Cyclone Freddy might indirectly include episodes of light to moderate rainfall over parts of northwestern, Copperbelt, Lusaka, Central, Eastern and Southern provinces as it transerves over Madagascar, Mozambique, South Africa and Zimbabwe from 22nd to 28 February 2023. He says the tropical cyclone will diminish into a storm after making landfall over Mozambique, thereby enhancing rainfall over Zambia from 26 February, which may lead to further waterlogging and flooding in prone areas. Japan International Cooperation Agency JICA has advised Zambia not to sacrifice precious assets such as mines in the name of development. JICA Chief Representative Yobashi Norito has wondered why Zambia cannot develop when it has water, natural and human resource and rich assets. Speaking at the second JICA chair meeting in Lusaka, Mr. Norihito says JICA stands ready to continue to support Zambia through building reciprocal relationships in which both parties learn from each other. He says although the situation to overcome the challenges facing the two countries may be different, some of the lessons learned from the experiences can be of use to the country as they strive for more economic growth through the various interventions that the government is undertaking as guided by the 8th National Development Plan. Mr. Norihito says just like Zambia is suffering from the damage by rains resulting in floods, Japan also has heavy typhoons as well as floods every year. He says Japan has learned how to cope with natural disasters while mitigating the damages and can help Zambia cope with these challenges.
As a matter of fact, many people around the area suffer for generations to generations, as well as land and water contamination. In order not to repeat fragile. We enacted laws and regulations to protect the environment and the human life while developing manufacturing. Through this process, we found out that economy and the environment should be compatible and consistent. Now in Zambia, we know we are suffering from the damage by heavy rain and flood. In Japan also have heavy typhoon, heavy cyclone, as well as flood every year. As long as cyclone concern, more than 10 typhoon hit Japan every year. But we minimize the victim and the damage by non-structural measures and the structural measures, as well as laws and regulations. In these challenges, we learned that how to cope with natural disasters while mitigating the damages, since no one can prevent from having natural disasters. Since we Japan made a lot of mistakes, we have a lot of challenges in the past, but from these negative experiences, we know how to cope with challenges and the development. In Zambia, you have water, you have natural and human resources, and the rich assets all over the country. You also have peace and stability. So I cannot see any reason why Zambia cannot develop. But please do not sacrifice your various and precious assets in the name of the development, as Japan did in the past.
Speaking at the same event, University of Zambia Dean of School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. Onemas Munyati, has reiterated the university's commitment to always do its part to ensure that this partnership is sustainable for the mutual benefit of not only the two institutions, but also the two countries.
I did mention during the first JICA event that JICA and the University of Zambia have a long-standing partnership which dates back 40 years ago when the University of Zambia received support from JICA during the establishment of the School of Veterinary Medicine. Since then, this partnership has grown and produced many initiatives that have benefited researchers, students, staff, and several institutions from both Japan and Zambia. The realization of the JICA Chair Initiative is a manifestation of the strength of our partnership. The University of Zambia will always do its part to ensure that this partnership is sustainable for the mutual benefit of not only the two institutions, but also the two countries. The University of Zambia regards the JICA Chair as a platform meant to instigate critical debates about Japan's development model, where participants can compare and contrast it with other models.
Meanwhile, Japan International Cooperation Agency JICA representative Kato Shinichiro has advised the Zambian government to utilize its 75% of fertile land to promote agriculture in order to develop the country.
So certainly, Lusaka will be the focus city of the region in the future, with the rapid urbanization. Thinking about the future, but what is important is to finally plan about how to develop Lusaka in a sustainable way. JICA is supporting to create Lusaka Master Plan, which will be the blueprint of Lusaka's development in the next decades. And we also cooperated with Lusaka Inner Ring Road project around 10 years ago. So, the map on the right-hand side, the road with the colors are the ones we cooperated in front. So, maybe the road you may use every day might be the one of the JICA Corporation. Next slide, please. And at the same time of doing the master plan with building infrastructures, we also we have been supporting in the field of water and sanitation to aid sustainable Lusaka. JICA has been cooperating on both urban and rural water supply all the time. The photo on the left-hand side is our water facility in George Compound, which was constructed on the ground gate. And also we constructed 8 deep boreholes, water pumps, common water tanks, and laundry facilities at the end of 1990s. And the last year, this is regarding about the right the photos. The last year, JICA started a new technical cooperation called the Lusaka Clean City Project, together with the Ministry of Government and Rural Development, the Lusaka City Council, and the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company for the better waste management in Lusaka. Actually, the idea of this project initially was proposed by the 2 Lusaka City Council officers who had participated to the JICA training in Japan. After returning to Japan, they came to our office and presented their passion how to establish sustainable, clean and green society in Lusaka. And now it is actually going on as a project. So we are very, very glad to see such a case and hope more examples will come. So now here I can say development of human resources is truly the development of the nation.
Opposition Zambia Must Prosper Party, ZMP, is dismayed and saddened to note that UPND cadres have continued to attack police officers and other civil servants with impunity in their quest to push and champion their ill agendas. Party spokesperson Raymond Mwenda says the latest attack on police in Kasama by the UPND cadres must be condemned in the strongest terms possible, and condemnation must go to the men and women in uniform for always acting professional, even in the face of extreme provocation from the UPND cadres. Mr. Mwenda says as a party, they are aware that the attack on the police and other civil servants in Kasama is but one of the many attacks witnessed since the UPND won the 12th August 2021 general elections, and similar attacks have happened in Solwezi, Petauke, Mazabuka, Mongu and Mansa. He says Zambia Must Prosper parties urging Inspector General of Police Lemi Kajoba to take a strong stance against the attacks on his officers before it is too late.
As Zambia Must Prosper party, we are saddened, we are shocked at the behavior of UPND cadres. We saw the police being attacked at Kasama police station. We also witnessed the police being attacked in Solwezi, at Solwezi police station. We have also seen a number of council offices being closed up by UPND cadres. We have seen a number of civil servants in this country working in fear because of UPND cadres. We want to call upon President Hakainde Hichilema to tame his cadres, and we want to call upon him to bring cadreism to an end in this country. Remember, President Hakainde is on record having campaigned on the premise that his government was not going to entertain the behavior of cadres. This behavior of UPND cadres is barbaric, is uncalled for, is unwarranted, and therefore it must be brought to an end. We also want to call upon the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Lemi Kajoba, to help his men and women in uniform, to protect them. Because if this trend is not brought to an end, we will not be shocked to see the office of the Inspector General of Police being attacked by UPND cadres. As we form government, as Zambia Must Prosper party, under the able leadership of President Kelvin Fubebwali, we will make sure that we prioritize the protection and safety of all the citizens and civil servants in this country, so that every person in this country shall be able to operate freely.
Opposition Patriotic Front Media Director Edwin Lufwekero has charged that some people have been sponsored to ensure that the party is killed after realizing that the former ruling party is still popular. Mr. Lufwekero has, however, encouraged PF members not to be worried or shaken by what is happening in the party. He says there is no leadership crisis in the party, as portrayed by some individuals who want to kill the party for their selfish gains. Mr. Lufwekero says it is saddening to see people fighting Acting President Given Lubinda and Acting Secretary General Nixon Chilangwa who have worked extremely hard to preserve the party under very difficult circumstances.
All we can call is to call the members to be united, to ensure that once the dates are set, as and when the leadership of the party gives us direction when we'll have the general conference, we'll be able to go to that general conference. But we have seen that there are people that want to kill the party. Deliberately, individuals are maneuvering to intimidate, to adulterate processes in the party by taking the party. If one, indeed, the question we ask, if one indeed loves the party, I expect those that are claiming that they are founders of the Patriotic Front, those that are claiming that they are true green, if at all there's such thing as true green, because I'm one of those people. We all know that I was the first Secretary General of this political party. I've never stood on the platform to claim that I'm the owner of the party. And in any case, there are many people that start organizations and institutions. But ideally, we must remove from this notion of, because I established the organization, then I must be the sole owner of that political party. Then where is the growth of the political party? We must, all of us, even if we are initiators of a political party like I did, ideally I think I expect discipline, I expect responsibility by those that claim that PF is their baby and they want to protect it and they want to preserve it. But I do not see any sense, any logic in one that claims PF is his baby and then goes out there to go to court or goes out there to go to Registrar of Society with the intention of deregistering the political party. I think that's unacceptable, and the party will not accept such kind of political maneuvers. And we can only predict that these people that are doing such a thing are either being sponsored by other forces that are fighting PF, or generally they've made up their mind that they are on their way out. After all, we have had people that have been in this political party before they have left, they came back. We have accepted them. We have accepted them to come back. It has happened. And even those, but nobody has said if you go and you come, and nobody will embrace you. We have embraced them. But ideally, you can see the writing is on the wall. The people that are fighting Honorable Winda, people that are fighting Chilangwa, who have worked extremely hard to preserve this party, to run this party under very difficult circumstances. Very difficult circumstances. So we can only appeal to the members to remain calm. We are on course. The leadership is in place under the able leadership of Honorable Winda and Secretary General. Let us work together. And for those that are causing problems, let them do an introspection of themselves.
The Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, has recommended that the government develops a national mineral asset valuation code and mineral reserve code to improve the pricing of mining assets. CTPD Head of Research, Boyd Molea, says this will help the country maximize revenue from the mining sector. And Mr. Molea says that the thrust of the mining policy should include implementation of global content provisions to address challenges in the mining sector in relation to the domestic economy, as well as mitigate illicit financial flows from the domestic economy through transfer and missing prices, among other schemes. Mr. Molea has called on government to close all the leakages, such as illicit flows in the mining sector, if it is to meet the 3 million metric tons of copper production in the decade from the current 800,000 metric tons.
If you look at it in terms of where we're coming from, for copper mines, I think most of us complain how much we sold it for and so forth. But going forward, we can always amend the mistakes we made. There's still room for us. We have the news, the confidence of the new administration, which is very forthcoming, and I think that's an opportunity for us. Then secondly, the thrust of the policy should include implementation of local content provisions to address the largely enclave nature of mining sector in relation to the domestic economy and mitigate illicit financial flows from the domestic economy through transfer mispricing, among other schemes, an issue that has eluded us for many years. Just to look at UNCTAD report of 2015, we saw that we were losing as a country about 12.5 billion United States dollars. That translates to about 4.3 billion annually. If you look at that, most of it came from the mining sector, according to the reports, and that's not good. So it's a clear indication that as much as we talk about 3 million metric tons in terms of copper production, we also need to be closing leakages in this production, because it's one thing to increase production, another thing to ensure that we are poised to take advantage and ensure that lower hanging fruits are dealt with. This financial flows is one of such. When we talk about transparency and accountability, ladies and gentlemen, it's also an opportunity to enhance the issue of beneficial ownership. That businesses should be comfortable in reporting who their natural persons or owners are. This is very important to ensure that we are able to curb corruption and to also ensure that we don't have giants that abuse the system to take advantage of the business. We don't want our economy to be state captured by the
Former Zambia Union of Financial Institutions and Allied Workers Zufiao President Akim Mwemba says the New Dawn government should, as a matter of urgency, heed to the call by the 3 mining unions to seriously consider bringing back Vedanta Resources to KCM. Mr. Mwemba says time has come for government to disregard calls from doomsayers who are merely politicking on the matter. He says there is need to do that which is blameless for Mother Zambia by bringing in economic activities on the Copper Belt. Mr. Mwemba, however, states that the government should impose more controls by ensuring that Vedanta brings in the $1.3 billion investment pledge made engages the 3 mining unions forthwith to negotiate for improved conditions of service of the workers and pay contractors and suppliers immediately.
The stick that is deterring misbehavior through fear of legal punishment. It's important to make the stick thicker, harder, and more accurate. Our laws and regulations are adequate to deal with all issues surrounding mining activities. Nonetheless, the most convenient way to change behavior is to offer the carrot, which is incentive. In fact, a well-designed incentive system can be far more powerful motivator than regulations, and Zambia's 2023 mining tax regime meets this benchmark. In a nutshell, this idea has
arrested 2 illegal miners of Ndola who were found digging suspected manganese in a residential area. Boyd Mulenga, 31, and Robbie Lukonde, 27, both of Bwanamkubwa area, are believed to have been found in Lupidi Ward, where they were doing their illegal mining activities. The duo has since been apprehended, while the truck they had hired for their activity has been impounded. Copperbelt Police Commanding Officer Peaceful Mwemba, who confirmed the development, said the 2 were arrested after a report by the area councillor.
Given government have agreed that the cost of living is high, and I think we need.
The Zambia Congress of Trade Union, the ZCTU, is confident that President Hakainde Hichilema's New Dawn administration will address the high cost of living facing Zambians. Union President Blake Mulala says he is comforted by the president's commitment to see to it that meal meal prices are reduced in the country. Mr. Mulala says the decision by government through the Food Reserve Agency to offload subsidized maize to millers is an indication that it is not sitting idle, but is committed to see to it that minimum prices are reduced.
Given government have agreed that the cost of living is high, and I think we need to understand, yes, we are not speaking on behalf of the politicians or those who are in the political offices. We need to understand what is driving the cost of living, where are we coming from, and where we are. Then we'll be able to understand that there are certainly happenings on the world markets which are causing the cost of living to be a bit higher. But we seem to be comforted because the government seems to make some intervention where they want to make sure that the citizens are not easily hardly hit by the effects of this cost of living. We saw on the prices of minimum and that there were measures which they took through the food reserve agents. And I think there are many other measures which they keep on saying they are putting in measures to see to it that the citizens are not hardly hit by the harsh economic activities prevailing currently.
Apostle Christopher Kundo of Presence of God Ministries says he will relentlessly pray for President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration to fulfill campaign promises he made to the Zambian people while in opposition. Apostle Kunda has also encouraged the church and Christian in general to pray for the president so that he fulfills his dream to transform the country.
The UPND government, when they were in opposition, remained so many promises. They promised the Zambian people lot of things, so many things. So what I can say to the current government, they need to honor their words. They need to honor their promises. I know that we human beings, we are not perfect, only God is perfect, but they made some promises. They made promises to reduce the bag of meal. President Hakainde Hichilema, who is now our Republican president, he made this promise that they will reduce the bag of meal, 25 kg will be 50 kwacha. And also there are so many promises of dollar. We are praying that the government, they need to honor their words, and we know that governance, it's not easy. We are praying for them as a church, for them to honor the promise to the Zambian people. When people they went to vote for them, because the government, the people in government today, they made the promise. That's what made the Zambian people to go and give them the votes. And today they are in power. So my prayer to God, that they will be able to honor the campaign promises that they said to the Zambian people. But for now, we look at in the education sector, where they say free education. Yes, they have honored that one, but also there are challenges in the education sector that also they need to help them to improve, because right now the schools are lacking something, the materials that they can use every day. And those times where they were paying something like 200, 600, they were having money that was helping them to learn those institutions, school institutions. But now they are facing challenges. But we pray that God will give them the wisdom that is needed to govern this nation. But Zambian people, they are waiting, especially meal. They need to reduce, especially fuel. They need to reduce. There are so many campaign promises that they said to the Zambian people, but we are praying that they will be able to honor in Jesus' name.
A clergyman has wondered why it has taken long for the ruling United Party for National Development administration to arrest all those alleged to have misappropriated public funds. Bishop Andrew Mulenga of the Rock of Glory Church recalls that while in opposition, the ruling UPND claimed to have evidence of who the corrupt people were, wondering why it has taken them this long to persecute them and the people alleged to be corrupt. He says the fight against corruption under the UPND administration appears to be a game show. Bishop Mununga says that the UPND is using corruption to win the sympathy of the donor community.
Because if corruption really was fought very well, by now would have had at least not less than 10 or 8 people that were going to be convicted, prosecuted, and jailed. Now, is there anyone from the former government that has been prosecuted? No. I mean, 1 year, 4 months. Now we are almost 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 year, 5 months. You mean the system has failed to locate even one? This fight is, I mean, 1 ye it's neither here nor there, like I've said. Not until we see tangible results. Are you saying there are no evidence to every other allegation out there? How do they? I'll single hand the issue of Forest 27. Okay, one would say now they want to legalizate. Surely, is this how you insult the citizen? When you were in the opposition, you spoke strongly that when you come into office, you repossess it. Now you're talking of regazetting it. Does it mean that some of you're having some investment on the said land? You see, all these things, they're leaving much to be desired among the citizen. Or is it only going to be applied among the poor out there? If the Forest 27 was held by the poor, I know by now maybe something would have come out. So, in a nutshell, the UPND, they are not fighting corruption at all. They have no evidence to show. They have no stuff. Okay, in as much as they have made, the changes or the stuff here and there, but by the end of the day, with or without the change or the stuff, do we see people being jailed? No. Do we see people being prosecuted in a more serious way? No. So, in a nutshell, they have failed to fight corruption lamentably. And I don't think in any other way should their minister today be found wanting by the SEC. I don't see a situation where the UPND minister can be.
We now take our final break.
Ukraine a year ago. They worry that Moscow could take military action against them if Russia is successful in Ukraine. On Tuesday, Biden pledged Washington's commitment to NATO's Mutual Defense Treaty during a speech in Warsaw. And following the invasion of Ukraine, a number of Eastern European nations that were previously part of the communist Eastern Bloc fear that their sovereignty is once again threatened by Russian power. NATO has ramped up security on its eastern flank to help reassure those countries. The alliance has deployed extra troops to the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, as well as Poland. Slovakia, Romania, and non-NATO member state Moldova are also nervous about Moscow's intentions.
Increasing defense spending, ramping up ammunition production, putting hundreds of thousands of troops on high alert. NATO is not a warring party in Ukraine, but the conflict has led to a dramatic change in its strategy. The alliance is going back to its roots.